Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jakim from Jakim Cigar Journal, and I wanted to take a few minutes out to just give the video that you're about to view a different introduction. Um, the footage you're about to watch is from Smoke and Ash in Teaneck, New Jersey, and it was actually part of New York Cigar Festival, a trip through the tunnel, Jersey Day, and of course, I went to go and enjoy cigars and fellowship with brothers and sisters of the Leaf, and I ended up getting a extremely important history lesson. So I want to share this video with you that is truly amazing because it's something I did not know. And as a fellow brother of the Leaf mentioned, uh, it's one thing to smoke a cigar and to have a spirit, uh, whether it be whiskey or whatever. It's another thing to know what you're smoking and to know what it is you're drinking, and that's what happened uh, at Smoke and Ash and Teaneck during New York Cigar Fest. There was a history lesson on the whiskey that we had paired with our cigars that was simply amazing, and I want you guys to enjoy it and take it all in, and I really hope you like it because I did. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jakim with Jakim Cigar Journal. I'm out here in Teaneck, New Jersey at Smoke and Ash. This is Jersey Day of New York Cigar Fest. We're about to go in here and have a good time, enjoy the cigar culture out here in Jersey. And I'll be back at you guys with some more videos, let you know what's going on throughout the night. Tonight, the libation of the evening is from Uncle Nearest Whiskey. Uncle Nearest Whiskey is sponsoring tonight's event here in New Jersey, Smoke and Ash, y'all. I'll catch you back in a few minutes.
Place where it's like the black shavers. You come here, you feel comfortable, you feel at home, you feel like family. So, as Jameson was talking about, in terms of the cigars that we're providing, so we give like a little rundown in terms of what you're actually smoking. So, we have two house blends that we're giving out tonight. So you're gonna see the darker one that's kind of like a javelin type shape. So those are the bellicosas. Those are Nicaraguan pure, meaning wrapper, binder, filler, which is the three components of a cigar. So they are tobacco from Jalapa, Nicaragua, and Esteli, Nicaragua, wrapped with a sweet Maduro wrapper. So those are not for the faint of heart. It's more of like a medium to full strength cigar. So if you're a beginner, you're not advised to start with that one. But if you're not a beginner, you're definitely going to love it. It's an amazing experience. Matter of fact, I was smoking one earlier today, and it was the first time I smoked one in a little while. I thought to myself, damn, I don't need to be taking so many breaks for such a long time in between these because it's an amazing smoke. The other one, which is a lighter wrapper, also Nicaraguan puro Nicaraguan tobacco from Jalapa and Esteli in terms of the binder and the filler. But the wrapper is a Connecticut leaf. So that one's more of a true medium. So it's going to be a smoother smoke, it's going to be not as strong a smoke, and if you're more of a newcomer to smoking cigars, I would highly suggest that one as opposed to the Bellicoso. So with that, I want to just be running around the room a little later, but just to see how your experience was, which cigar that you chose, why you chose it, and how you feeling. So please, I'm not going to take any offense. If you're not feeling it, let me know. But I'll let you know this right now. The Bellicoso, which is the darker one with the sweet Maduro wrapper. We've had people come back specifically for that house. Now, we are the only ones, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, with that specific cigar. We have our own hand roller We get it in from Nicaragua, like I said before. It's a fan favorite of a lot of people. And as you can see in our humidor, we have a wide selection. People come back for our house. So please, let me know when I come around the room. Like I said, I'm not going to take any offense. If you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. But I'll be willing to bet. I'll drink open air if you're going to be feeling it. I'm going to put you in this back on the mic. Thank you for coming to Smoking National. We appreciate you. Y'all give it up one more time for Conway. Wait, hold on. Please, don't go too far. Man, you see this suit he got on? This is like a Jameson special you got on right here. This is amazing, man. Hey, I'm just saying, you're a little taller than me, so let me know when you're done. I gotta take that shit to my tail there. That's freaking amazing, man. You gotta do it, man. All right, one more time for Conway, please. And give it up for Smoking Ashes, please. So we had something. We had a few technical difficulties earlier today. It's very interesting how things work out for us, right? We ended up losing our chef to a fire and gained an amazing caterer. We ended up losing our visual presentation.
Real quick, the chef didn't die by fire.
Yeah, I did say that wrong, didn't I? I did say that. So the chef is still alive. The chef is still alive, just the kitchen caught on fire, right? Yeah, cool. Alright, so, but we discovered this culinary experience this evening because of it. And then we had the technical difficulties of the visual presentation. We were going to have a presentation this evening by none other than Jeffrey Wright about Uncle Nearest. And what I will implore you to do is to go to the Uncle Nearest website and please catch this visual because it is a tearjerker and it really helps you understand the culture of, I don't know, America and even the spirits of whiskey, right? So with no further ado, we're still going to have a presentation, but we're going to have it directly from the horse's mouth, from the representative here for you guys here in New Jersey. He goes by Johnny Liquid on social media, but yeah, he like dances around this shit. It's funny. But we're going to have John Bocino come up here. Come on up, John. Come on up. He got his chucks on tonight. Yeah, come on up. He says, my God. It was a chucks on. And he made sure to pull his hat out tonight so he could be a part of dress code. So, y'all give it up one time for John. The louder you clap, the more free drinks you'll get, I'm telling you. All right.
All right, thank you, Jameson. All right, I want to thank everybody for having us here. How many people know Uncle Nearest? Yeah. All right, those who don't, you want to hear a story?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to give you a story. This is a true story. It's not made up in a marketing room. It's not made up in some boardroom. It's a true story how a woman changed the face. I'll walk right through how it exactly happened. Back in 2015, our CEO and founder, her name is Fawn Weaver. This is the woman right here. She's on the front cover of American Whiskey Magazine. She was a New York Times bestseller for self-help books, and she was also a flipper in LA of houses. And one day, she just had this inkling. She read something in the New York Times while on vacation about Tennessee whiskey. She said to her husband, you know what, I'm going to do a story on Tennessee whiskey, and I'm going to find out, what it is all about, learn about whiskey, and I'm going to write a book. So she flew down to Nashville, Tennessee, and she went to the heart of where Tennessee whiskey was made, which is Lynchburg, Tennessee. She went to the local library there, started doing research. People were looking at her. what she was doing. So she started telling him, I wanted to do a story on Tennessee whiskey. What she found out was that there was an African-American slave. And he worked for a reverend. And the reverend's name was Dan Call. And Dan Call had a side hustle, just like everybody else. And his side hustle was making whiskey. The whiskey maker, again, was this slave, and his name, from what we found, was Nearest Green or Nathan Green. Well, Nearest was working, making whiskey, and there was one day this young child came to Dan Call's farm. He was an orphan. He was a product. He was the last of 10. He had no place to live, and he wanted to work on the farm with Dan Call. So Dan Call said, no problem, you can earn your keep here. And he said to him, you know, there's various chores. But in the back, in the woods, he saw smoke, and he saw a lot of people going back and forth. He said, I want to learn what's going on back there. So Dan Call introduced this young child to Nathan Green. And he said, listen, teach this boy everything you know about making whiskey. Well, the kid was a good learner, good listener, but what the kid was really good at was selling whiskey. So he was going around and he was selling the whiskey during the Civil War to all the troops. And it was a popular whiskey. Well, Civil War ends, the kid gets older, slaves are freed. This young kid says to Dan Call, says, you know what? I want to buy this whiskey business from you. Dan Call says, no problem. I'm done with it. It's all yours. So he said, but Nathan Green is a free man now. It's up to Nathan Green if you want to still have a work for you. So he asked Nathan Green. Nathan Green said, absolutely. Well, years went past. This kid started selling more and more whiskey, and he actually opened up his own distillery. Well, that young kid that you know of, everybody around the world knows his name. You know that young kid, his name is Jasper. His last name is Daniels. You know him as Jakim. So Fawn found this information out. She's like, holy smoke. The original master distiller for Jack Daniels is a black slave. So she talks to all the people in town, and everyone in Lynchburg knew the story. So she went, and again, I'll tell you, this is 2015. We're not talking 1980 to 70. This is 2015. She went to the Jack Daniels distillery like everybody else and took a tour. She went on the tour, not a word mentioned of Nathan Green. Now, Nathan Green, his nickname in town is Nearest, and that's how he get the name Nearest Green. So after the tour, she went to the powers that be at Jack Daniels, and she said, I just took your tour, and do you realize that your original whiskey maker, as you list here on the tour, is Jack Daniels? Do you realize that it was an African-American slave, Nathan Green, who was the master distiller for Jack Daniels? And they said, of course we do. And she said, well, you don't mention him anywhere on this tour. And they said to her, ma'am, do you really think the world's most famous whiskey could be made by a black man? Wow. True story. And she said, really? So she gathered up thousands of hours of research. She brought a team together, found out all this information, everything that verified that this just wasn't hearsay, this was true. Well, she took it and posted it and wrote an article and was featured on the front page of the New York Times. It got picked up worldwide. Everybody was calling her, and they were all saying, you have to keep this gentleman's name alive. He is the godfather of Tennessee whiskey. Well, what does she know? She's an author. Well, she went to the lineage that's still alive today in Lynchburg, the nearest green, and she went to them and said, how would you like the name of your relative to be remembered? Would you like a scholarship, a fund, or something? And they said, we would really like to see his name on the bottle. So she found out a couple of people, made some calls, and in 2017, a bottle was released. And it's called 1856. It's a blend, 8-year-old whiskey, 8 to 14-year-old whiskey, 100 proof. We have it here tonight. It won numerous awards, top honors, one of the most popular whiskeys to come out that year. Well, she didn't stop there. She got investors involved. One of them is Jeffrey Wright. And there's various other investors that are not known. And she built a distillery. And the distillery is right before you get to Lynchburg, to Jack Daniels, in Shelbyville. Well, in 2019, another item was listed called 1884. It's 93 proof, it's a 7-year-old. We have it here mixed in a cocktail. The significance of 1856 is records she found that list the ingredients and the method used to make Jack Daniels whiskey. Now, those who are not familiar with Tennessee whiskey, and a lot of people say, oh, well, I like bourbon. Okay. Tennessee whiskey is bourbon.
Yep.
There you go. But by law of Tennessee, all whiskey, all bourbon, has to be charcoal filtered through maple charcoal. Okay? By doing that one step, actually changes the dynamics that you can't call it a bourbon. It is called a Tennessee whiskey. It's the only state in the country that by law you have to do that. Okay? So it's really a bourbon plus one. Who came up with that method is nearest green. And the reason she believes that he did that was when he came over from Africa, their water to purify everything was through charcoal. So, by just his method of living in Africa, becoming a slave in the U.S., he did that step, and charcoal filtered the whiskey. So, the godfather of Tennessee whiskey, and by law today, was actually made by a black man. And it was nearest green. And that method is still used today to make Tennessee whiskey. So, when people say they like bourbon, really, Tennessee whiskey is bourbon plus one. Now, that was the date on documentation she found. In 1884, this documentation found was the last barrel that nearest green made for Jack Daniels before he retired. And his lineage, his sons, worked for Jack Daniels Distillery. And there is still lineage that works at Jack Daniels Distillery. Now, to make this story even more bizarre, the 1884 on the back of the bottle is signed by a person called Victoria Edie Butler. Victoria Edie Butler is the great-great-granddaughter of Nearest Green. She works at our distillery. She is the first black master distiller in the United States. And Fawn Weaver, over here, is the first African-American woman or person of color to own a distillery in the United States. Now, if you go to Jack Daniels Distillery today, and you take the tour that Fawn took, Jack Daniels is no longer listed as the #1 distiller in his own distillery. Nearest Greens. Jack is 2. So she changed the course of history and brought the story out of the darkness to light. So, there is a distillery, if you're ever in Tennessee and you take a tour, you can take an amazing tour. I was just down there for the ribbon cutting in June, which we opened up the distillery on Juneteenth. Significant date. That's when she opened the distillery, and there were senators there, the governor of Tennessee was there, and people from Jack Daniels was there. She told Jack Daniels, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not doing a hit piece. I just want the story to be told. And she is continuing this story. I'm part of it. We have a team of 60 people now in the United States. We're the fastest growing American whiskey. We beat out Angel's Envy, which is originally was the fastest growing whiskey in the United States. For 2 years in a row, 2019 and 2020, we were the most awarded whiskey and or bourbon for those 2 years, with over 180 awards. And I'm not just talking like point awards where we were voted Whiskey of the Year last year. So, Fawn's giving back to the community because every lineage of Nearest Green, their school is paid for lock, stock, and barrel. And we just had one of the Nearest Green descendants graduate with a doctorate. So she's giving back, but what Fawn's main objective is, she wants Nearest Green's name to be remembered just like Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, Johnny Walker. She wants it to roll off people's lips and to be part of that group of around the world known names. Her drive is to make his legacy continue for centuries on. And I'm happy to say we're in all 50 states and we're in 14 countries. And in this short time, since 2016, when she wrote the article, that's where we are. So, we have a drink. I don't know if it was passed out yet. The girl back there has it. Did they have them? Is everybody? So let's raise a toast to a legacy that was hidden for years, hundreds of years, and now it's a story that will be told, hopefully, for the ages. To Nearest Green, cheers.
Cheers!
And thank you very much for hearing that and being patient with me, but that's the true story in a nutshell. And enjoy the rest of your evening with your cigar pairings, and just keep spreading the story and educate people. And as Bob Marley once said, bringing darkness to light. And that's what we are doing with that story.
Yeah!
So thank you very much. Enjoy your evening.
Give it up for the story of Uncle Nearest. I know you've probably seen it in your liquor stores and you've seen it on social media, but did you guys know that story? Wow. And imagine how many more people have no idea of it, right? So, I mean, John, he did a great job, and we did have our toast. I mean, we still got more drinks, right? Cool. Let's make sure people have more drinks as we actually go through like a little more dramatic presentation of it now that we have it together. You ready, Ryan? Let's do it.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. It's Jakim from Jakim Cigar Journal. I really hope you enjoyed that video. The history of Uncle Nearest, Uncle Nathan, and his whiskey is truly amazing. And I got a lot from that. And I have bought now several bottles of Uncle Nearest whiskey. And it is just really amazing, and it pairs well with just about all the cigars I've paired it with so far. So I just wanted to say, once again, thank you for watching the video. Thank you for your support. I thank my subscribers, and don't forget, always smoke what you like, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace and blessings.